Hey there, it's Kat, and today it's Wheel of Fortune. Yes, indeed. Card number 10 in the Major Arcana. This card technically is the end of the light journey of the Major Arcana as you're getting ready to drop down into the shadow journey. So it's a major turning point. That's something that's talked a lot about with the Wheel of Fortune, is it's sort of that twist of fate, who knows what's coming, that turning of the wheel type of aspect. And I just really see it as the completion of the light cycle, but it's also getting ready, preparing you to begin the shadow cycle. So it can be a little complicated there. And I'm just going to show you some of these cards up close. So this is a beautiful depiction of Wheel of Fortune from Shadowscapes Tarot. And then this one from Pagan Otherworld by Usi. I love that we have these animals down at the bottom too, the light and the shadow. You can see the bear and the white elk, as well as the lion. And then this one from the Star Tarot looks a bit more like a compass. I love how in the center here, there's this hand, you get the compass point directions, the different phases of the moon, just reminding you that the wheel is about so many different types of cycles. And we get these different animals, and then there's the angels that show also the different elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and just many layers of imagery here. But the wheel in general, I think of a wheel as something that is in motion, it's turning. And we all know in life that there's different points. So if you imagine life as a wheel, sometimes you feel like you're up on top, like, yes, the world is mine. And then sometimes you're at the bottom, like, no, I'm being squashed underneath. But it still moves, you're still kind of like, you're going to come out on the other side. It's going to be intense. And then, get that recovery point. So we experience these highs and lows. And that is an aspect of, can't control that. It's like you try to hold on desperately to stay at the top of the wheel, and you can be running and scrambling and hustling and doing all those things and being like, stay at the top, stay at the top. But if you can get in the flow and just trust the flow and just go, okay, it always comes back around. Everybody gets a little bit of both. But here is the super nifty thing about the wheel, is we forget that there's a whole other part of the wheel. You don't have to be whipping around the outside. You can also work towards being in the center. So the Wheel of Fortune has this great message behind it too, that, like I said, there's that aspect of flow and the highs and the lows. It can be the dramas and all of that type of stuff. But what if you worked more towards centeredness? How can you come back to center? Stay more centered. The wheel does keep moving, but you don't feel that giant roller coaster effect of the highs and lows and the getting whipped around. It doesn't mean you can't experience joy and grief and anger and happiness and all of the ups and downs of the emotions, but it doesn't have to be so full-bodied where it seems to take over your whole life. I think a lot of us know people, or maybe we just watch TV or movies or something where it's super dramatic, like, oh my God, everything's going crazy, blah, 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 all of that sort of stuff. And you're just like, whew, that's not my life. But really, it's not about life. Everybody's life could be interpreted that way, with the crazy dramas, the low lows, the amazing storytellers who can do that and kind of suck you into that energy. It's more about you. Are you just a more centered person, less vulnerable to that whole drama of the ups and the downs? And there can be a real contentedness there, but it can also be fulfillment. It doesn't have to be contented. That can feel like not engaged that much. I mean, the hub is a crucial part of the wheel. A wheel wouldn't happen without the hub. So just going how can you be more of that centered, thrumming heart? So all of these other things, they happen around you, but you can be connected to them, kind of like the spokes. So just visualize that aspect of a wheel like this, but you could be the centered one and don't have to be under the influence of all of that drama. I don't have to be experiencing in that way, just coming back to center and kind of accepting what comes, seeing how it serves, integrating it and incorporating it that way into your life, like doing that type of spiritual work. So with the wheel, it's true, we don't know which way life is going, but with ourselves, we can go, oh, I actually have a tiny bit of control over that. Hopefully a decent amount of control if you want it, but that sense of you can change how you respond to things, your reaction, and you can choose how to be more centered and meditative in that type of way in your responsiveness, and kind of take it in, and rather than the idea of feeling balanced, being centered. When you're centered, things can still be flowing and moving and evolving, just like they do with the wheel rolling, rolling, rolling. So that's my take on the Wheel of Fortune. It is lovely in many ways to have a sense of accomplishment of a journey. So like I said, of the light journey of the Major Arcana is, the wheel is the end of that, but knowing it's not the end. Like that's the thing of why tarot happens in cycles, these cycles of 10, is there's never really an end that you just kind of get to and you're like, okay, no more cycling, that it keeps moving and rolling. And so that's why such a motion filled card is holding that point of like, it's just another turning point. So as I've mentioned in other videos, it's not that we follow the cards in the exact order that they're outlaid by any means. But when the wheel comes up of just going, change is coming, don't know really what's next, can stay centered in myself, move through the world in that way. In the tarot, it's signifying that you're getting ready to go into the shadow journey. So that type of change is happening. And the same thing, centered in yourself is going to be a really great way to handle those potential challenges ahead. I don't always like referring to the shadow journey as challenging because it's all a judgment. I mean, there's many cards in the light journey that I think are extremely challenging because they're a lot about programming or experiencing society a certain type of way, and all of the cards have light and shadow aspects to them, and it just intermixes. So the wheel is one that really brings it kind of all together, just like I tend to see them as very, very blended, the light and the shadow. And I can see a little bit of that in this card where there's like the moon and it feels more nighttime up there, and a little bit more daytime and sunny with these flowers down here. So see what's in your cards and how it connects with you with those notions that I brought up, because the cards are really, it's more important how they read in the spread that you've come up, what you see in them rather than what you know about them. I love to just tap more into that intuitive type of feel, especially in a reading, in a card pull, of going like, what is coming up? What has this card triggered? Not exactly what does this card mean? Now let me make that meaning work for the question that's been asked. It's sort of like, let the card and the studying of these cards and the information just kind of go, here's the message that is welling up. Here's what I'm actually seeing in this card in this moment, and trust that type of message. So that's my deal on the wheel. Any questions, just drop me a line down below, or if you have any comments. I love just geeking out on tarot cards and talking about them. And I have classes coming up online soon with my girlfriend Rachel Lazarus that will be about reading tarot intuitively. So it'll be less about the individual cards, much more how to read and call in symbols and call up that wisdom from the well that is within you, which makes the readings much more potent and less like, oh my God, I'm a robot just regurgitating what I think I know about the cards. So they get a little bit more flow. Takes practice, so keep practicing whether or not you're in a class, because that's how I continue to learn and tap into that well of wisdom. You can also find me over at tamingthetangle.com. I write about lots of different things on my blog, different tools to help you step more into an intentional and magical life. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.